success. Actually, it's not the. I can't believe I just put the in there. Welcome, everyone, to Next Level Success Roundtable. And today, I actually have to look this up. So, today we're talking about the impact of privacy laws on internet marketing. And I'm actually looking forward to comparing laws in different regions, different locations. So, that should be interesting. I'm not the expert, so I'm really glad that we have a panel of experts here. And how about if we go around? I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Nigel, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go to Tom and Gail because that's the order that you're on my screen. So, Nigel?
Good afternoon. Good day, everybody. That's the best way of putting it. Because at the moment, it's 11 here at night. I'm based in the UK, in South Wales. Worth looking up. For the last 25 years, I've been involved with internet marketing, and my focus in the last 10 years has been on digital customer experience. So I work with mostly young companies who want to use the internet to and develop their internet assets so that they can speak with their customers. So.
Excellent. Welcome, Nigel. And this is Nigel's first time joining us, but I hope it's not his last. I hope you'll join us regularly. So
I shall do my best.
Excellent. Thank you. And Tom?
Well, hello, everyone. Once again, I'm Tom Reed, and I spent about a 40-year career helping the government and industry do business with each other, otherwise known as the practice of government contract law. Took a deep interest in leadership and ended up writing my thoughts down until it turned into a 678-page book that is available wherever fine books are sold. It's called Sustained Leadership WBS, and occasionally we talk about that, but tonight's topic is one that I'm probably going to listen more than I'm going to talk.
Really? I thought the fact that it had the word law in it, I thought he's got to have an opinion. That's not true.
We'll see.
All right. And Gail?
All right, I'm Gail Gardner. I'm the founder of growmap.com and a small business marketing strategist and the current community manager of the Biz Sugar Small Business Mastermind community.
Excellent. Welcome, Gail. Welcome, all of you. And I hope well, you know what? Let's just get started. I want to jump in, but, it's like I should just ease into this and not just pounce on you, Nigel. But I am curious as far as these privacy laws and things like that, because this whole thing with, why did the word just elude me now? I might have to have you tell me that this thing with cookies and all these privacies and having people agree to it, that everything going on in Europe actually kind of impacted all of us over here in America, where we had to start adding stuff to our website to make sure that we were compliant. But as I understand, in Europe, and I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm kind of making a mess of this, but in Europe, It was required.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, as I've seen the internet, and when I talk about the internet, I'm not talking about the historical internet pre 1994. Okay, because that is a different type of internet. It was only when Sir Tim Berners-Lee actually allowed everybody to have easy access to it that it burgeoned, and it became this free-for-all, and it has been a free-for-all. And I think that I watched it because I remember in the early days when I was speaking to lots of marketing specialists and everything else, the joy of knowing that you can actually trace your customers, you can see what they're doing, where they're coming from, and everything else. And it gave a lot of power to the marketing people, but it was at the ignorance of the customer. They didn't realize that their data was being shared, that they were or was being sold actually between different organizations, and all the technology could track and trace you everywhere you went. And then suddenly people started realizing this was happening, but they didn't realize until probably about 10 years ago. And then suddenly they realized the government were being told, you've got to do something to stop this happening because there's so much fraud going on. People are being pestered. Old and vulnerable people are being shaken down basically for their life savings and everything. So in order to try and do that, the European Union, which the UK was part of at the time, brought in.
Well, they're not now. I
Oh,
didn't mean
no,
to interrupt you,
we
but
left. We left.
oh, I didn't see. This is how much I don't know. I'm admitting my ignorance.
You know that president you had who was there for one term, and then he's now trying to get in for his second term. Well, the same year that happened, 2016, was the same year that Britain, the UK, left the European Union, and it
Okay.
probably caused as much upset amongst certain sectors of society. It was called Brexit, and it caused as much upset among certain sectors of society as probably the election of the president at that time. And I'm going to say his name, Donald Trump, because he's on the records now. And it rocked the world. Us, not just what Donald Trump getting in, but it rocked certain establishment figures because we said we want to leave the European Union. I was the ordinary people in the streets through a referendum that decided it. And ever since, the establishment has been trying to push back and get back into the European Union. But the longer we stay out, the more they're likely to do it. But one of the things that they launched at that time was this requirement that that people should be allowed to control their own privacy. And that's why with the marketing systems they've got and the cookies, we now have reject all cookies coming up on screens with those people who've caught up in times. Actually, most websites are so old that they haven't had this put in. So the ones who rely on our advertising and marketing a lot, such as newspapers and things, they make it so difficult to switch off all the cookies, and they've got thousands of them. You've got to spend an hour just deleting. So half the time now, people just don't bother going there, or they've got installed some cookie blocking software, which I have. And sometimes I go to a newspaper website and they say, oh, if you want to read our stuff, you have to switch your blocker off. And I'm going, no, it works the other way as well. I don't want to read your stuff. I can find the information somewhere else. So
I see a Tom with his pop-ups.
Yeah, exactly. And I find it amusing because it means the marketing people are going to have to go back to methodologies that were being used back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, okay, before the internet, to find out what their customers are doing.
Now,
yeah,
we've caught up to this as far as, whatever was required in Europe. It seems like in America, we thought, hey, we need to do this because Europeans are expecting it. So we should make our websites compliant. Tom, Gail, I mean, you've seen it, what's happening here. And now it just seems to be I have it on my website as far as cookies and all. I mean, not that I have the cookies, but the whole thing about accept, reject, all that in compliance with Europe.
All right. I have a question, Nigel.
Yeah.
Does it affect, like if someone's on your e-commerce website and they're moving around on your site, does the marketer still have access to all that data?
On an e-commerce site, oddly enough, on an e-commerce site, yes, because they made a loophole in the law, in the privacy laws. They made a loophole that allowed e-commerce sites to, because there was a transaction going to happen on there at some point, they allowed them to continue to follow and understand, but that's only within the website. I think what was causing a lot of upset amongst people was the fact that when you left the site, they were still following you. They knew where you went and everything else.
Yeah, I would say that if you're on a website shopping, that you don't really have a problem with them tracking you through their website.
Through their website.
Right? And it's very valuable for the e-commerce site.
Yeah.
It was, the problem is that even without cookies, almost every site has Google Analytics installed. So presumably Google still knows everywhere you go and everything you do.
Yeah. What you read, what you search on, everything.
Yeah. So even though you've turned off cookies so that other people don't know.
Yeah.
I think Google still has access to all the data. And people who know me a long time know I'm not a big fan of Google. Okay, so tell them "Don't be evil" is a weird slogan, because if you know any honest people, it would never dawn on them to have a slogan like "Don't be evil." Only evil people think of these things, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't use Gmail except for accessing Google stuff
Yeah.
Same
because I
here.
figured they have enough information. Why am I going to hand them any more? At least make them work for it.
Yeah. Or pay us.
Mhm.
And I think that's part and parcel, because you see in France, people people own their own image. You can't go out in the street in France and take photographs of people.
Shouldn't it be that way though? I mean,
Oh,
Well,
when you
that's
talk about
it's not the
cool.
same.
I like that.
Yeah, it's not the same. But in the UK, you don't own your image. If you're in the public space, people can take photographs. You don't need to get it signed off. You don't need to have permission to use that image. And it's always been like that in this country. And again, I think it works on the principle: if you've got nothing to hide, why are you bothered?
No, that's true here too. That public
as far as
space,
public
you have
space,
no expectation of privacy when in a public area.
Yeah.
But now, UK is the place that has no privacy. They
Oh, we
have
do.
cameras everywhere.
Oh yeah, no, yes. Outside in public, there's cameras everywhere. I think we're the highest cameras per head of population in the world. Not
So
other than
wasn't
China-
that
other
for
than China.
protection? I mean, part of that's for protection as far as what is it, CCV
Um,
or whatever it is, to have cameras
they
so
al-
that if
they
there's
always-
crimes and
Are you going to fall for that? That is always
Yeah.
the excuse for taking away
always the
rights.
excuse. Yeah.
For
I
your
watch too
safe-
much crime television.
What is the famous quote? Those who desire safety deserve neither safety nor freedom, or something like that.
Yeah, I
I
was
love
Ben
British
Franklin.
crime television.
I think the thing is, the law in Europe is different from the law in the UK. In the UK, everything is legal until the government say it's not. When you go to Europe, everything is illegal until we say you can do it.
Wow, I gotta think on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
It's the difference between Roman law and the same law that you work to, which is based on the Magna Carta.
Well, theoretically, everything here is legal unless it's illegal, but that's not really how the justice system works.
Yeah.
But theoretically, we have the illusion of freedom.
yes,
The
and
illusion of
you
freedom.
picked the
Okay.
right word there: the illusion, the perception of freedom. And I think the further away you get from places like city and high urban areas, the less that these things affect you. There's fewer cameras, except now that everybody, to protect themselves, have put dash cams in their cars and their vans and vehicles and everything else, front and back.
Doorbell cams and all
Doorbell
the,
cams,
yeah.
everything. And how lazy can you get? But as far as privacy is concerned, and the thing is, anything that's digital can be hacked. No matter how secure they feel it's being made, everything can be hacked, so people can access it. And have you ever heard of a place called GCHQ?
No.
It's equivalent to Yar Langley.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
It's where all the spies are. And I know that they're watching this now. And suddenly they've been triggered because the word Langley has been mentioned and the word GCHQ has been mentioned. So
So
somebody
now they'll be
listened.
watching.
And I saw a meme a couple of days ago that said GCHQ, the only part of government that actually listens to you. Okay, so it's the same as saying Langley, the only part of government that actually listens to you. But they've been listening to us since we started using the internet. Every email has been scanned. Every conversation, they listen to phone calls and everything. And whilst they say that they're not allowed to spy on their own citizens, they do.
Yeah. No,
Do you
Well,
ever have conversations where I don't want to go all into it? I mean, this is live stream, but there have been times where we actually are aware of exactly where they are and listening. And I don't want to sound.
Yeah.
I will spare that for another time, but there have been reasons based on previous employers. But anyway, but we were having conversations like, okay, well, as you're listening to this, I just want to let you know we haven't done anything illegal, but we actually did this and it's like, so there's these whole conversations my husband and I will be talking. It's like, but for information, da 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 da. It's like, but I mean, anyone else listening to us be like, are you kooks or what? You're actually talking to to them in your house. It's like, well, because they're across the street, so they hear us.
People are crazy though. Look at this. People post the illegal stuff they're doing on social media. You have to be brain dead to implicate yourself in a serious crime on social media. I don't know what's wrong with these people, but I have noticed that like drug people who are stoned want to call the police all the time. It is so weird, right? They're the ones acting out of control and stoned, and they want to call the police on other people. It's like, well, that was dumb, right?
Unintelligent.
I think you've got to remember one fundamental thing. The IQ test was developed by the American Army back in 1911 to determine the quality of their soldiers. So if they had an IQ above 110, they ended up being given positions of a military rank. If they're anything lower than 890, I think, ended up on the front line. They were cannon fodder, basically.
In America, if you have an IQ below 90, we make you a judge.
Yeah, no. This is where it's gone wrong. This is where it's all gone wrong. But I don't know if any of you have done statistical analysis, but whenever you do statistical analysis, you get this average point and you call that 0 and everything is plus or minus. Okay, so anybody with an IQ of 95 has actually got a -5 IQ. But they wouldn't allow that. They set it at 100 being the average because you're having a really bad day when you do your test and they tell you you've got -5 or -7. Whereas if you get 95, and I've heard this from so many people, I did my IQ test the other day, I got 95 out of 100.
And they were happy.
Yeah, and they were delighted. And I'm thinking, oh no,
wow.
But you've got to remember that half the population has an IQ below 0. Okay.
No, below 100.
No. If you're doing proper statistical analysis.
Oh, if you did it right, it'd be below 0.
Point goes to 0 and everything's plus or minus around that point.
Right. Remember me saying I took the ASVAB test? So I'm in a computer room one day, and I said, you know that when you take the ASVAB test, if you test not good at anything at all, they make you an MP, a military police person.
Yeah.
Right? And the whole computer room breaks up laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
And I said, what did I say that was funny? And they had a really bad manager there who was a real pain and was always hassling people. So he said, so-and-so was an MP. And that's why they found that hysterical. But it's true. But that's crazy. Your MPs are guarding the gate to keep the bad people out, and you put the dumbest people you have on the gate. Yeah. And I would see that every time I'd go to the mill. One time I went, a friend of mine's driving. He's got a beard and long hair, and they waved us in. I'm like, huh? They didn't even stop, right? Sometimes I would go and they would make me show my ID, go to the little place, talk to the people, get a permit, right, to get in because I had to go in and work on something on the flight line. But another time I'll drive up and say, my sister's having a baby and I want to go to the hospital. And they go, okay, go ahead. Right? And so they're just, it's just like Fort Hood. I had no idea that officially you had to have a secret clearance to go in where I was going. I never had a secret clearance. And the very first time I went there, I walked up to the gate and they said, oh, you must be our IBM person, and unlocked the heaviest duty, tallest with concertina wire gate I have ever seen in my life. Didn't ask for my ID or anything. Just let me in.
And these are the MPs that are letting you in?
No, that wasn't an MP. That was somebody in data processing that was expecting me. And probably someone had mentioned that there was a woman tech, right? And so,
you're identifiable.
I must be the one, and then didn't ask for ID. So I thought it was odd.
Yeah,
I was tested by Mayo, And they didn't believe, at the time I wasn't working, so they classified me as a housewife. I guess if you don't have a job and you have kids, then you're a housewife, and you're female, you're a housewife, whatever. And my IQ was too high.
Yeah.
For all of the women they had ever tested, my IQ was the highest they'd ever had for a housewife. It's like, that can't be. We have to test you again because you are more intelligent than all the women we were tested. And it's like, what? Because I'm a housewife, I'm too smart. So now you got to retest me or something. I need to be stupid. I could just try to be really dumb. It's like, it won't work. We'll still be able to calculate that you're smart. So it's like,
Tom, you've worked with the private sector and you've also worked with government. So how do you feel? How do you find the privacy aspects of privacy? Because there's pay grades, and if you aren't on that pay grade, you don't get to do certain things, or you don't see information that you may need. How does it work with you? Have you got anything to share?
Thanks for asking, because boy, you guys talk a lot today. Glad I didn't plan on talking. So I can back up just a hair. I hope you all realize that we are all now going to start getting ads from Amazon for spy gear, cameras, and facial recognition because of our conversation.
Yeah.
oh,
And the quote that Gail was thinking of from Ben Franklin was, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety."
Yeah.
And that was the quote he was thinking of.
thank you.
And to Nigel's point about statistical averages, one of my favorite comedians forever, and it amazes me how many younger people have never heard the name, was George Carlin. And one of his routines had a bit in it where he said, "Now think about how stupid the average person is." And his next line was, "And then think about how half the people are dumber than that."
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way those statistics work sometimes.
Yeah.
Privacy, yes. From the web point of view, I tend to delegate that. I have an account with Constant Contact. We have some on our email list from Europe, and they've got all the right words and all the right, with every email that goes to them. And if any of them say, delete my data, we absolutely have to do that. We will, we can. And so by delegating that makes a lot more sense. From the government perspective of privacy, I want to kind of bleed that over a little bit into the idea of security. Because when I first got a security clearance, and I was coming up in contracts, I was like, what do we deal with contracts? And we once had a sole source justification, always has to be approved because the government does full and open competition. And they said, it's a really good reason, but we can't tell you. And I'm like, I'm the lawyer. I'm supposed to review this stuff. What do you mean you can't? Classified. And it really doesn't have much to do with your pay grade. It has to do with your need to know in any position. So low pay grade people can get it. But you're correct that high pay grade people, like the president, unlimited security classification, he can see anything, allegedly. And so there are times, and by the way, the justification was valid. It had to do with ship movements. Ship movements should be classified. I get that. So we didn't want to paper our contract files with that kind of data. But beyond that, there is a lot of classified data. But the thing that's going on in America these days is I'm going to have the CIA all over me before we're done here. The concern that there is if you will, a shadow government, and it's run by CIA, DOJ, because what are they best known for? Well, overthrowing governments in foreign countries. Well, hey, if you got the skill, you want to use it, right? So what's going on in America today? I mean, we're not too sure. But somebody raised an interesting point to me this week, and it really caused me to pause. So often, more so now, we are hearing from our elected officials that, I had this opinion, but then I got a classified briefing, and I no longer hold that opinion. The information I got from that briefing has caused me to change my mind. It's like, well, what information? Oh, I'm sorry, it's classified. I can't tell you. And the question this person posed to me about that scenario, and they said, well, how does this person know that the classified information they received was even accurate or truthful or based on truth? If somebody is trying to overthrow your government, isn't that one of the first things they'll do is capture the classified information and parse it out, true or false, to the right people who are in the position to make the decisions? And our trust of our government is just plummeted in the past few years. And that's very unfortunate. But in terms of the privacy issue, we're still, our original laws came out of England, and a lot of our laws mimic yours still today. And Gail was right when she said, in America, if you're in a public place, then you got a public face, and they can record it.
And by the way, that false document, they'd be using AI to at least, polish it up so it looks legit, but use AI to create this false document that somebody's using and can't divulge the information because they're saying it's classified. And now you're just sending someone off into oblivion on a lie, or potentially a lie. I don't want to accuse.
Well, they shouldn't be too surprised that trust factors have gone down when the media and the government continues to lie so blatantly and insanely that you'd have to be dead to not notice.
A sad state of affairs. And we have actually hit our 30-minute mark.
It's absolutely intriguing, and I don't know where it's going to go. I think we were expecting a change of government sometime later this year, but I think the ones who are coming in are going to be worse than the ones that are there now. And they're already talking that this other group are going to get in. Something very special has to happen before, if the current incumbent political party stays there. But it's not just the politicians, because most of them are career professionals, politicians, and they've never done a day's work. They've never been out in the real world, so they're living in a bubble. And it's only going to be objections by people for their personal information being divulged, used, manipulated by sales companies and everything else. And I think marketers are going to have to learn how to deal with this, because it is going to change, because people are starting to become, well, not all people, because there's still going to be the ones who just do it and face the consequences of whatever they do. But there's a growing number of people who are starting to feel a bit sensitive about their privacy. And it's not just the older people in the society, it's also a lot of young people as well, because they've experienced bullying, fraud, and also they're finding that a lot of people who are not part of they don't have roots in the society that we are growing up in at the moment. I'm trying to be very careful what I say. They come from different cultures, so they don't have the same respect for things like privacy as we do in the UK. And you can imagine British people tend to be very private. But then you get a whole load of youngsters who are coming out now who don't understand the concept of privacy, but those are mostly in urban areas.
Yes. Rural areas are different. Rural areas, people are more private and more offline.
Yeah.
But the city people, the young people in cities, they put everything on the internet. I mean, it's crazy. When they will never outgrow it, right? Yeah. At least our generation, if a person did something stupid, only the people that were present know that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now people put stuff all over the internet where it lives forever, no matter how many times you delete it.
Yeah.
It just, they're not going to they can't ever outgrow their youthful stupidity, right? Yeah. It will follow them forever. And that's the worst part about the privacy thing.
Yeah. I was having a discussion with a couple of youngsters quite a few years ago now. And I was talking to them. I said, look, we did exactly the same things as you did. When I was your age, I was doing the same things. I was trying cannabis, and I was drinking too much, and I was, go out, get drunk, go to a party, steal a policeman's helmet. They were all trophies. But the one thing we didn't do is write a 200-word article with a photograph of the evidence and publish it in the national newspapers. But that's what they're doing on their Facebook page, showing the pictures of themselves. Oh, I had a really good night last night. I woke up next to this road sign I stole. So what does it say about you as an individual? Yes, a bit of youthful exuberance. I mean, I got pictures of me rolling a 3-leaf spirit when I was, 19? But I don't put that up on the internet. Now the thing is, people are going to hear that. Can you delete that bit?
Yeah, but see, people that they have no sense, right?
No.
And and the way they dress, and they have no clue. I was talking to a young girl. She was looking for work, and she
Oh,
posted this very provocative photo on her bio, and I said, "Hey, why would you do that?" And she said she wanted to make her boyfriend jealous. I said, "You realize you're trying to get a job, and this is going to reflect poorly."
yeah.
See, that's the other thing. Corporations, especially, they have unreasonable expectations, right?
No.
So if you have evidence out there that you ever did anything stupid,
Yeah.
you may not be able to get a job. You may not, and the way things are going, you may not be able to rent a place,
Yeah.
right? It's like credit. This credit score now is almost as scary as a social credit score. I have posts on my site from 2008 where I warned people. I said, "You realize they're collecting all this data. They could refuse to give you insurance. They could
Yeah.
refuse to rent you a place. They could refuse to give you a loan. You could maybe never get a job." You have to think of the ramifications of the privacy invasions.
Yeah.
And I wrote these posts in 2008, right? And it was old news then. It's really
Yeah.
old news now.
Yeah. But the majority of people don't think.
No, they have no sense. No, they don't think at all.
So let that be a warning to all of you youngins that it's not wise to be so out in the public.
Yeah.
And your 15 minutes of fame is wonderful until it burns you out. So
Yes.
for what that's worth, I think we are at time now, Deborah.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all of you that tuned in to watch this or watch the post-production recording. And please join us same time, same place next week for Next Level Success Roundtable. Thank you, Nigel, Tom, and Gail. Appreciate all of your input. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.